Parents, before you buy another toy for your kids, stop right there. There's a reason typical toy stores look tempting. The packaging screams fun, and the price tag sometimes makes it feel like an easy win. But here's the truth. Some of the most common toys you'll find in the most trusted stores are cheaply made, poorly tested, and in many cases, flat out dangerous. From toxic plastics to sharp edges and choking hazards, these toys aren't designed to last, and they certainly aren't designed to protect your kids. They're designed to sell quickly, to ride holiday fads, and to make money. And over again, parents regret buying them. Today, we're going to expose the toys you should avoid, the stores where they're sold, and the real-life stories of families who've paid the price. Wait till you hear about what happened with a dad in Virginia when he bought a small squishy toy for her daughter from a convenience store. So let's get started. Number 1, local grocery stores. Let's start with one of the sneakiest offenders, the toy bins you see near the checkout counter at your local grocery store. Safeway, Kroger, Publix, Albertsons, you know the drill. You're waiting in line, your kid is restless. And right there at eye level is a bin of bouncy balls, plastic figurines, or squishy toys for just a couple of bucks. It feels harmless. It feels convenient, but it's actually one of the most common regret purchases parents talk about online. Why? These toys often don't go through the same safety testing that larger toy brands endure. They're usually imported in bulk, slapped with vague packaging, and placed near the checkout counter purely to trigger impulse buys. A 2018 study in Environmental Science and Technology tested random squishy toys bought at checkout bins in Europe and found dangerously high levels of phthalates. These are chemicals that can disrupt hormones in developing children. And while that study was abroad, the same supply chains feed American markets too. Parents have learned this the hard way. On a parenting forum, a mom from Texas wrote, "I grabbed a rubber bouncy ball at Safeway because my son was begging. Within minutes, at home, it burst open, spilling some kind of sticky chemical goo. My son ended up with a rash, and we ended up in the ER. All for $1. That's not just wasted money, that's a dangerous, avoidable situation. And it's not just chemicals. Many of these checkout toys are brittle, poorly glued, and prone to breaking apart into small pieces that kids can swallow. A 2021 recall even pulled dozens of small squishy toys sold in gas stations and grocery outlets across multiple states because the liquid inside was toxic if ingested. What makes it worse is that these toys are intentionally placed at kids' eye level, literally engineered to make parents cave in. Grocery stores aren't carefully curating these toys for safety. They're cashing in on impulse and distraction, and when parents give in, it's almost always followed by regret. So next time you're standing at the checkout and your kid reaches for that bin of neon-colored dollar store quality toys, remember you're not buying peace, you're buying a problem. And if you think checkout toys are bad, wait until you hear about craft stores. The toys sold there look creative and educational, but the recalls behind them tell a very different story. By the way, if this video helps you protect your family, hit the subscribe button so more parents see this warning. Number 2, craft and hobby stores. Walk into Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or Joann Fabrics, and you'll see aisles filled with DIY kits, slime sets, jewelry making kits, and bead crafts. The packaging screams creativity. Parents feel like they're buying something educational, something that will keep their child engaged in a positive way. But hidden inside many of these kits are hazards you wouldn't expect. In 2023, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission recalled the Prex-Tex slime eggs and Liddy City playsets because they contained excessive levels of lead and phthalates, two of the most tightly regulated chemicals in children's products. Lead exposure in kids can cause developmental delays and learning difficulties, while phthalates have been linked to hormone disruption. Yet here they were, packaged as fun and educational toys. One Ohio mother shared her story on Facebook. She bought a slime kit for her daughter's birthday. Within minutes of playing with the slime, her daughter began to cry that her hands were burning. The mother rushed to wash it off, but a rash had already formed. Later lab tests showed the slime compound contained chemicals far above safe limits. The mother said, "We thought it would inspire her creativity. Instead, it left her afraid of craft time and scared her hands for life." And then there are magnetic bead kits, often sold in these same craft aisles. They look like fun. Kids can build shapes, chains, or jewelry, but when swallowed, 2 or more of these tiny magnets can attract each other inside the intestines, tearing tissue and creating life-threatening injuries. Hospitals have reported hundreds of cases, some requiring emergency surgery. While many magnetic sets have been recalled, craft stores continue to sell them under different brand names. Parents walk in thinking they're buying something safe, creative, and enriching, but what they often end up with is a hospital visit, or at the very least, a child in tears and a pile of wasted money. If you thought grocery checkout toys were bad, at least those are impulse buys. Craft kits hit parents in a different way. They exploit our desire to buy something educational. But the next category, that one plays on pure fun and excitement. Let's talk about the toys your kids win at vending machines at malls. Number 3, mall and arcade vending toys. If you have children and they win a toy at a vending machine inside malls, don't start to cherish your kids. They won a toy, but at what cost? The capsules, the claw machine wins, and the ticket redemption prizes, they cost $1 or $2, and they give you and your child that little thrill of instant gratification. But what's hiding inside those machines is anything but safe. Unlike toys sold through major chains, vending machine toys frequently dodge U.S. safety testing altogether. They don't arrive with clear packaging, they don't come with labels, and they're not bound by the same scrutiny as brand-name products. They're not regulated toys. And when a toy doesn't face oversight, it becomes a gamble with your child's safety. Real parents have seen the consequences. One dad shared on Reddit how his young son won a small plastic ring from a vending machine at the mall. Within minutes of wearing it, the ring snapped into 2 jagged pieces and sliced the child's finger. What was supposed to be a happy moment turned into tears, bandages, and regret, all over a prize worth a penny. And it's not just about sharp plastic. Toxic materials have been found in vending toys for decades. In 2004, the Consumer Product Safety Commission announced one of the largest recalls in toy history. 150 million pieces of toy jewelry sold in vending machines nationwide. Why? They contained dangerously high levels of lead, a neurotoxin that can permanently harm children's brain development. These pieces were shiny, colorful, and irresistible to kids, and poisoned them at the same time. Safety advocates have repeated this warning for years. Vending toys aren't made to last. They're made to grab attention. That's why parents often regret buying them the moment their child plays with them. They break instantly, they smell like chemicals, or they end up on a recall list you never even knew existed. And here's the worst part. Most of these toys end up in your child's mouth. Toddlers chew on small rings, bracelets, or figurines. If the toy chips, or if it's coated in lead paint, that danger becomes immediate. So, while claw machines and arcade prizes look like harmless fun, the truth is they're risky impulse buys that put your child in harm's way. And if you think arcade prizes were sketchy, wait until you hear about the toys sold in home improvement stores. Yes, right next to the hammers and nails. Have you ever regretted buying a toy for your kids? Drop your story in the comments below. It could be the warning another parent needs. Number 4, home improvement stores. When you walk into a Home Depot, Lowe's, or Ace Hardware, toys are probably the last thing on your mind. You're thinking about light bulbs, nails, or maybe some paint. But tucked into the seasonal aisles, especially around the holidays, you'll find bins of toys. Brightly colored plastic tool kits for kids, stuffed snowmen, or little wooden build kits. They look like fun surprises for your child while you shop. But here's the problem. These toys often don't go through the same safety checks as products sold at major toy retailers. And that lack of oversight has led to real dangers. A Texas mom shared a painful experience that still sticks with her. We bought a kid's tool set at Home Depot. The hammer looked harmless, and the packaging literally said, "Kid safe." But the very first time my son used it, the hammer shattered. A jagged piece sliced his palm wide open. We ended up in urgent care getting stitches for something that was marketed as safe for children. That story may sound extreme, but it's not rare. Seasonal toys at hardware stores are typically sourced cheaply, imported in bulk, and placed near checkout aisles as impulse buys. They aren't treated like long-term toy lines from companies such as Lego or Mattel, which have to pass multiple safety inspections. Instead, these toys often skip testing for choking hazards, flammability, or toxic materials. And watchdogs have caught them. In 2019, the consumer safety group Connecticut Public Interest Research Group, ConPIRG, flagged a toy sold at Ocean State Job Lot, a Little Tikes wood lacing shape set. The plastic beads in the kit were small enough to pass through a federal choke test cylinder, meaning they could block a child's airway. To make matters worse, the labeling didn't include the proper choking hazard warnings required by law. Think about that. A toy sold in a family-oriented hardware store didn't even follow the most basic labeling requirements designed to protect toddlers. And it's not just about choking. Some seasonal plush toys and holiday lights marketed to children have been caught with excessive levels of lead in paints or fabrics, despite federal bans. In fact, a 2017 CPSC bulletin warned that imported seasonal toys, often the kind placed in non-toy retailers like hardware chains, pose higher risks because sellers don't always vet their suppliers. Parents who buy these toys often report the same pattern: excitement in the store, disappointment at home. The toys either fall apart instantly or pose a risk that you only notice once your child is already playing with them. And by then, it's too late. It's important to remember that renowned toy companies like Hasbro or Fisher-Price have reputations to maintain. If they sell unsafe toys, it makes headlines. But when an unregulated toy slips into a Home Depot bin, it rarely attracts the same attention until a child gets hurt. The biggest trap here is trust. Parents naturally assume that if a toy is being sold in a well-known national chain, even if that chain is a hardware store, it must be safe. But in reality, retailers like Home Depot and Lowe's aren't toy specialists. Toys aren't their main business. They often partner with third-party suppliers to stock seasonal aisles, and that's where the oversight gap happens. So the next time you're picking up a hammer and your child tugs at your sleeve asking for that kid toolkit, remember, these aren't rigorously tested products. They're often cheap seasonal imports marketed to fill shelf space. The biggest takeaway for parents is that home improvement store toys are seasonal junk that can pose very real dangers. A few minutes of fun isn't worth the risk of injury, toxic exposure, or worse. And if you think seasonal toys at hardware stores are bad, wait until we get to the worst offenders of all: gas stations and convenience stores. These roadside toys aren't just unsafe. They've been tied to toxic chemicals, melting hazards, and real hospital visits. Number 5, gas station and convenience store toys. Every parent has been through this. You decided to take a long road trip with your family. You pack your bags and get on the road. The kids are anxious and restless in the back seat. They're not just bored. They want you to stop somewhere. Some children may even want you to stop at a gas station because they want to pee so badly. But little did you know, they wanted you to stop there for another purpose. Well, now that you've finally pulled into a 7-Eleven or a corner gas station just so that little menace could get his insides cleared out. Right? Wrong. You go inside the store, and right by the counter are bins of toys, squishy stress balls, neon slime, knockoff dolls, plastic cars, you name it. And you feel like if you don't buy them for the kids, they just go crazy for the rest of the trip, so you accept buying them. And why won't you? They're cheap, colorful, and the perfect distraction. But you don't know that behind those beautiful-looking toys are some of the most dangerous things that you can buy for your children. Unlike products in major toy stores, gas station toys often bypass the safety nets of U.S. testing. They're imported in bulk, slapped with vague labels, and sold for a couple of dollars. And the result is exactly what you expect from these knockoff toys. They fall apart, leak chemicals, or even catch fire. A dad from Virginia told reporters his daughter picked out a small, squishy toy at a convenience store during a road trip. Minutes later, in the hot car, the toy literally melted onto her hand. The material heated up, stuck to her skin, and left behind a burning residue that had to be treated by a doctor. The family later learned that many squishy toys contain toxic polyurethane foam that breaks down under heat, a risk never mentioned on the packaging. Another story surfaced in parent forums about a mom who bought a small doll at a gas station for her toddler. Within an hour of play, the doll's head detached completely. Her daughter, who was teething, nearly swallowed the plastic piece. She posted the story as a warning, saying, "I thought it was just a $3 toy. It could have been my daughter's life." These aren't isolated cases. The CPSC has repeatedly flagged toys sold at small roadside retailers for failing federal safety standards. In one 2018 recall, a line of plastic toy trucks sold in convenience stores was pulled for containing lead paint, a substance banned for decades. In another case, flashing toy wands distributed through discount and gas station chains were recalled for excessive phthalates. And here's why it keeps happening. The gas stations and convenience stores aren't held to the same scrutiny as large toy retailers. Their toy sections are afterthoughts, not carefully curated departments. These items are marketed as impulse buys for desperate parents, cheap distractions designed for the moment, not for safety. But the danger is real. Chemical residues from low-grade plastics, small detachable parts, and zero durability make these toys ticking time bombs. And the worst part? Parents often don't realize it until their child is already hurt. Gas station toys are built for quick profit, not for safety. If they were held to the same standards as mainstream toys, most wouldn't even make it to the shelf. So the next time you're on a road trip and tempted to grab a quick toy for the kids, remember that impulse buy could cost you far more than the $3 you spent. Gas station toys aren't harmless distractions. They're unsafe road trip regrets that can lead your child straight to the hospital. Real families have shared stories of broken toys causing cuts, chemical smells filling living rooms, and recalls that came only after children were already harmed. These aren't just isolated accidents. They're part of a pattern of profit over safety, which is why awareness matters. If this video helps you protect your family, hit the like button so more parents see this warning. And don't forget to subscribe. We will reveal more such stories and the stores you need to avoid buying toys from in our upcoming video. Until then, stay safe, parents. Your kids deserve better than these traps.